the 12 principles define how to make realistic and believable animation, regardless of medium. In this episode, we discuss solid drawing.
TipTut.
So, let's talk about solid drawing. Solid drawing is the practice of drawing your animations as if they have 3D volume, in order to lend a greater sense of weight, balance, and realism to their movements. At this point, it's probably important to remind you that these are Disney's principles of animation, and if your style leans towards a heavily stylized 2D, then obviously this principle will be less important. But even in a 2D stylized animation, it helps to know how to draw your characters with volume from any angle, so don't close this video, or you'll make Red Ball Guy cry. Solid drawing helps add weight and realism to your animation, even on simple characters like ours. When our red character turns around, his face doesn't move across his body like a flat circle, but instead curves around it as if it were a sphere. Even our actually flat square character can do the same thing, even though I made the conscious design choice to make him a square as opposed to a cube, because otherwise he doesn't look like the same style of character as our red guy. It's useful to start with simple shapes when trying to draw solidly, building up the rigging or bones of the character before adding the detail on top. When you do add the detail, make sure your line work supports the form of what you're drawing. If one section is in front of the other, draw an overlapping line to reinforce this. This helps sell the 3D volume of the shape. Drawing in perspective helps sell the idea of realism too, so rather than drawing in an isometric or parallel view, try to add perspective to your forms. If you struggle with this on complex shapes like I do, then cheat. Sometimes I model basic shapes in 3D software like Blender, then draw over the top of them to add the details. If it works, then it works. To summarize, regardless of your actual style, thinking of your drawings as 3D objects rather than flat shapes will help to reinforce your animation and make it more believable. That's it for solid drawing. Make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next and final episode, which is all about appeal. Absolutely massive thank you to my level 2 and above members. These guys are making TipTut possible, and I can't thank them enough. If you'd like to become a Tip Titan, click that join button below for exclusive perks.
Remember to subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.